Ms. Sandra Haseley, welcome to the Rich Equation podcast.
So good to be here. So good to be here.
It's so good to be here. It's so good to see you. I'm super excited for this. You have such a light and energy and bubbliness and curiosity about you. So I'm really excited to bring you to the audience today and ask a handful of questions, and we're going to go super deep. So I'm excited.
Amazing. Perfect. Let's do it.
So you have, I really want to get into your books and talk about that. You know, you and I met a few months, maybe it was only a month and a half ago at a retreat, a meditation retreat. You've committed your life to growth, expansion, learning, really pushing yourself into the things that you're probably teaching a lot of your clients. So I'm really excited to unpack your journey and what you've learned and what you bring to others. So yeah, just so much fun stuff we're going to talk about today.
I can't wait. This is good stuff.
Yeah. What I'm really curious, I want to kind of start off simple because some of the things that we talked about really early on, you know, you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, you're coaching people, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're trying to do all these different things and activities, and you're a high performer. And one of the things that came out in our early conversations was time management. And you have a really fresh perspective about time management and creating boundaries. And so I know that probably sounds like a layup place to start, but I think it's a good place to start because it also frames kind of how you think about life and how you think about everything in your life. And so I'd love you to speak to that and your perspective and give the audience some things to think about in terms of time management.
I think it's a wonderful place to start because the way that I approach my time management in the day, it's not mainstream, and it does have a trickle down effect that happens by accident for people that adopt this time management approach. It's I could do this over here in these different pockets of my life. I'm like, yes, now you're getting it. So the time management thing, I don't even like, it's a hard, I use that term sometimes too myself, but I don't even like fully adopt it because it sounds so boring and annoying, and it sounds so structured and like managed and overseen. But what I do, like I've got 4 kids, I've got multiple businesses. I'm very careful with my energy. You know, as an introvert who appears to be an extrovert, I give the people that I love and trust like all of my energy. So they get a lot of it. So like it drains me fairly quickly. And, you know, I have to show up for work, and I have to do some things, and I have to be there for my kids and not give them the leftovers at the end of the day. So the way that I approach my work day is looking at the calendar Sunday to Saturday, starting there and going like, I did this one time. And typically we have a schedule that's about the same every Sunday through Saturday. It's relatively the same. And any given period of our life, any season we're in, we're typically in a hormonal stage for, several years at a time, usually, at least. So I did this once, and I can do it again later, like at some point if things change, but it's looking at Sunday to Saturday. And all right, how often, like when do I typically wake up? Let's start there. All right, so I sleep from these hours to these hours. So let's block that stuff off. And the daytime awake hours, when do I really start cranking during the day? When is my flow time? When do I really start to do like the high performing activities well, where I lose time and I'm ultra focused and I'm not distracted and I'm excited to do what I'm doing? So I've identified that time block is like 11 to 2 p.m. And sometimes I'll get a second wind when the kids are in bed. Psychologically, I think because I know I'm not going to get any distractions. Nobody expects me to be awake and answering emails or anything else. So, you know, from like 8:30 to 11, sometimes I can do some big work. But the 11 to 2 pocket, I go hard. Like I don't even. It happens so fast that I'm like, it's over. Like I love that. That was so.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I missed it already. So I'll schedule the things that are high performing, like high functioning CPU activities in my head, like things that require a lot of gray matter, developing programs, thinking through issues or struggles for client's sake, or looking at projecting into my own business and what I plan to do for the rest of the year, like really intentional things where I have to use a lot of brain space. I'll do that between the hours of 11 and 2. And the rest outside of that, it's like, all right, I know that I'm going to be using a ton of energy during this time. When is a good time for me to chill out and like just be brain dead and stare into the wall in the corner if I need to? Like when's a good time for that? It's like, it's about 2 o'clock to like 3:30. So, this is great for me, knowing that the kids get off the bus around 4:15. I'll still have an extra window of time to hit some admin things. And that doesn't require a lot of energy. That's like, that's kind of like just robotic task work for me. And then what about the morning time after the kids are on the bus till 11 o'clock? Same thing. What else do I have to clean up? Do I have to tidy up? Can I get back to people in terms of Voxer coaching clients, or am I going on a Zoom call for a mastermind that I'm running? And that doesn't require as much of like the high functioning brain power, because these are things where you just simply respond with your experience or your knowledge base. And that's just very automatic. So it doesn't require a lot of pull. So these areas in the day, they're typical, like the same every day, pretty typical, Monday through Friday, at least they're the same for me. So energetically, so I can protect those pockets and know when to schedule certain activities so that the people that are scheduling with me during those times get the best of me. And that is how I've avoided the burnout seasons that I used to experience a lot of, and how I don't come home from work or leave my desk at work and walk to the kids and they're getting this weird like that's awful for them to have memories like that. So I've been doing this for about 3.5 years now, and it's been transformative for me and for all of the clients that use it. I love it.
I love that. And I think it takes time blocking to another perspective, because you're not necessarily just blocking off time throughout your day. You're really just focusing on where the time is that you're creating the most value. And then everything else, you're right, it's sort of automatic in some way, subconscious.
Yes. Yeah. Because if you can experience the benefit of saying, all right, I can be very present for the admin hours. I just can't crank out a lot of big numbers or like really deep thoughts, right? Like, but I can be present for the admin stuff and care about it. But if my brain starts to kick in and go, hyper functional between the hours of 11 and 2, let's not waste it. Let's use it for something that needs that kind of energy, right? And then, so if I'm channeling the things, the energy that I have into tasks and activities that need to be done, there's progress when it's done in the right energy. And progress is the thing that we celebrate. Our brain celebrates that over achievement all day long. So then I can leave the work day, I can push away from my desk and be very satisfied at the end of the day, no matter what. And so you can experience that feeling of like, working with my natural state of energy, working with like my own, like just my internal environment and how I operate as one person in this world. I can go ahead and copy paste that and put that into function over the weekends. What do I get burnt out and annoyed with my kids when they're acting like this when are those hours, Sandra? Are you taking them to places during your admin hours when you're like a little drained? And like, why don't you do that during the hours that you're functioning well so they can have a good time too? And that's changed everything for spouses, for, relationships, for working out. Like when you're aware of when your energy is at its best and at its like medium and like real low, you can act accordingly. And all of the things that you're doing in your day and your week become so much more enjoyable.
I love that. And I think this is why I wanted to talk about this, because everyone's got the same amount of time, right? And you're doing so many things. You're a mom of 4 kids. I think it's very easy for people to make excuses about time and time management and everything that they want to accomplish. And then not only are you just doing the things that you want to be doing, you're also doing it with intention of your energy and the way you show up during those activities. And so I think there's something that we all can learn and take away from that in all different types of our life, because we are doers, right? Yes. We want to be doing, we want to be creating, we want to be doing all these things and not sort of feel like we're in lack. But I think a lot of people can get into the excuses of like, oh my God, I can't do it all, or it's my kids, my wife will get the less of me. I think that's why it's such an important topic to talk about. So
yeah, I think that there's so much of that, and then there's also a matter of not being intentional with what you're doing during those times. Like, what you're claiming you being anybody, you're claiming these priorities as your own. Are they?
Right.
Do you have to do them? Do you need to do them? Do you want to do them? Can they be given to somebody else? Can they be dropped entirely? Can they be automated by a system somehow, or some kind of automatic software? Like, can you do something else? Like, instead of hanging on to this idea that it's got to be me, I got to do it. It feels I used to do this, and it feels, looking back in retrospect on my behavior and the thought process behind my behavior, I'm like, ah, there's your victim mode. That's what it was. Like that, I never
Yes.
would have identified as a victim, but I'm like, oh yeah, I was hanging on to that. Why? Because something about that benefited me. If I could tell people I was so busy, they'd maybe cut me some slack when I couldn't make it to this, or I couldn't get this done because I was overwhelmed and I knew I might be, because I'm saying yes to all this stuff without any sense of boundaries, and then that story just kind of like perpetuates itself and makes itself worse.
Well, this tangentially into the next topic, because I think it's very easy to live in victim mode.
Yeah,
It's really easy. It's easier. And
So much
you've
easier.
spent so much energy in trying to create a framework for probably not just women, but people in general, about how to get out of their victimhood, how to find their power, how to find their leadership. And so I want to first talk about the power method, and we can go kind of wherever you want. I know you're working on a lot of different pieces of content and programs and things, but I think the books are really fascinating, and all the research that I've done. I haven't read them yet, but let's talk about the power method first, and then we can talk about grit and grace. But power, leadership, and work-life integration. So kind of what we were just talking about is all the essence of it is in the power method, right? And so give us a little bit of the cliff notes of what we can get out of the power method.
Sure. So, with my experience in training and mentoring, coaching women all across the world, all the different cultures, languages, and everything, these common themes, these are the three themes that just kept coming up over and over again, is the personal power, although it's phrased in different ways by different people. That's what we're talking about, is power, the self-empowerment, and then the leadership. And, a lot of people don't see themselves as leaders. They don't claim that title, but like it or not, you are. You have the ability to lead in public, at the grocery store, in front of your kids, your neighbors, your family, church, wherever, whatever, work, the setting that you are in the role that you're in life right now, you are either a leader or you're choosing not to be. And identifying that and showing you how you can make your own style of leadership, and it's not supposed to look like anybody else, but here's how you can actually craft it. And then the work-life integration piece being, well, what if I'm retired? What if I'm, maybe I'm handy capable and I've got some different kind of schedule and arrangement in my life? And what if I'm working as an employee? And what if I'm doing midnight shifts? And what if I'm an entrepreneur? And what if it looks like a bunch of different things? How do I do life and do family and friends at the same time without sacrificing things and giving people, like we said, the leftovers? And it's finding that dance. I don't think it's a balance, because it changes all the time, and there's no such thing as balance when it comes to energy shifting and the types of activities and the people that are coming and going. But you can integrate it where it's waves aren't
in
perfect,
flow. Yeah.
right. But they move together. So I think that having gone through those things, finding my power, claiming the power back, and realizing what that actually meant. Not power over anybody else, just power to do the things that you desire to do, that you're capable of, and stretching you into things that you have no idea you're so capable of, and you're scared to do, but wait a second, you got this. And then that leadership function, which infuses the power, infuses the confidence and the courage, and the work-life integration that makes it all okay, makes it all safe. It makes it all that, even builds confidence too. I can handle both. I can have it all, and all at the same time, by the way, in different amounts and varieties. You can have it all. You can have the health, the relationship, the money, the car, the home, the whatever. You can have it all at the same time. It's insane to think you can't. But what does it look like for you? What do you want it to look like for you? It doesn't have to look like other people's versions look like.
Did you experience a strong contrast of not having this, which kind of led you on this journey? Or you feel like you've been always able to harness this energy, which now you've been able to kind of create a focus point to be able to share it with others? Or is this coming from a place? Yeah.
This is, I was raised in a home with a very relaxed mother who was very organized. Just no big deal. We're just this has a home, this has a home. What's even a drunk drawer? We don't have that. We don't need that. Everything's got a place to go. Why would we even have that? And when you take something out, you put it away. It's just very la la la. That's how life works. So that's the way we thought. That's the way, it's just very logical and easy and flowy. And then it became, go to college, take 24 credit hours of finance, and make up with the engineering degree, and play softball. Division I softball is insanely demanding, and also maybe commute and do 2 hours from school and back full time as a supervisor in a casino, and then also do finish up your credit hours for finance, and then go into the finance world where it's commercial mortgage underwriting And that's a racket. That is a 60-hour-a-week commitment with no extra pay. And it's insanely demanding. So basically after college, like once college kicked in, I was like, oh, wait, what? Like my schedule was very easy before. How do I even do this? So that was a big trial and error, like phase of my life that lasted about 10 years where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I hate it. And I hate life. So the
contrast, so life, when life hits you, let's call it, the contrast of that in your upbringing created there was the void of the ability to handle it and the ability to like take control of your time and your power and all of those things.
Yeah. And it felt like, how did that work there, but it can't work here? Like, there's got to be a way. Like, I see some people, I think they're doing it better than me. I don't know. They're not talking about it, but like, it appears like they're less stressed than me. Can I have some of that? So it was a matter of like, the integrating little pieces at a time. Okay, that worked. And then seeing that like, oh, wait, this is methodical. This is teachable. Like this is, so I would help clients with that. I would talk about that a lot. And it's something that I talk about so often that I'm like, should just be a resource. Maybe we should just put it into a book and give it to them because like, I don't need to say this over and over and over again if they have access to it like this. So it seemed the best approach to these things need to be seen and listened to or read again and again in order to integrate them because it's new. When it's new, we have to go again, feel again, do it in a different energy, do it the day where you're not tired, do it again. And a book is a really excellent delivery mechanism for that, I think.
In the people that you're working with now, what do you see show up most often? What are people dealing with? And what is the guidance you have for that?
Awesome question. Currently, what I'm seeing is they're little micro shifts that end up being massive movement makers for people. So these women who are insanely educated, experienced, they're making very good, strong salaries, 6 and 7 figure earners, and they are stuck in the, what if I can't do this though? I don't have a proven track record with this thing. I do have this insane desire to do this and I really want to, but like I don't have the evidence that I can. This is typical of the women and men I found that have a lot of achievement in their life and a lot of education. The education really easily draws us into this learning loop where just a little bit more, if I know a little bit more, if I take an extra course, then I'll be ready, because it's super safe to stay learning, right? And then you get celebrated for another achievement. You get another degree. Oh my gosh, everybody, yay! Like, okay, maybe I'll just go back to school for another one. That was fun. I like that affirmation. That's amazing. And then you feel very safe because there's no risk at all other than get a decent grade just to pass. There's no risk. But moving into the how do I take this knowledge and what if it doesn't work in the real world? Because my professor doesn't do this anymore in the real world. He's retired from that and he just hangs out. Can I trust it? I don't know. So it's when even professionals that are actively, making great revenue streams in the thing and they want to change it into a little bit different over here and create a different revenue stream that's adjacent to the one that they're doing, but they've never done it before. They just, like we've seen so many times before, where's the evidence to prove that I can? It's like, you don't get the evidence until you get the belief. So let's go from there. So it's the micro shifts in like adjusting their thought process and their language and how they see it and how they say it and what the moves that they're making behind it. Because their moves or the behavior that they have is directly correlated to the beliefs that they have about what they can or can't do. So it's picking into those things and peeling it back and being like, oh, that's the one for you. All right, let's remove that. So just asking the deeper questions to interrupt the patterns. Yeah, absolutely that. And finding out what the real issue is because what you say it's this, that's not what it is. What's the root feeling? What's the root cause, right? So it's getting to the source so that they don't have these band-aids masking the real thing that's keeping them back.
Yeah, I think it's really relevant to have this conversation right now because I think there's, economically where we're at, we're recording this in October of 2022. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of, recession talk. And I think what's fun about that is like, if you have you're asking the right questions, there can be an immense amount of opportunity too, right? And so there's always, I don't want to say like you have to have an abundance mindset, but if you're asking the right questions and know that, it's a zero-sum game, like there's losers and winners. And so if you can get yourself in the right mindset, there can be massive opportunity on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, do we have to go back very far to see that? Like, 2020 hit and everyone was like losing their minds and selling assets for nothing. And then 6 months later, people are like earning lots of money in a lot of ways. And everyone's like, oh, whoops, I lost a whole lot of money on that RV. Should have kept it. Yeah, we should have kept it. It's just, it's a fear cycle. We just react without feeling and thinking and like remembering what's actually true, that these things are business builders. They're wealth makers. More billionaires and millionaires were produced in 2020 than ever before. So the chaos and the recession talk, I don't even listen to it. I don't hear it. I don't listen to it. I don't seek it out. I don't, because it's
what would you tell people? What would you tell people that are like, oh man, but I'm not sure. Should I hold it? Should I take it? Should I do that? Should I not do that? What guidance or what are the right things to affirm yourself in those moments of perhaps anxiety or fear or lack or whatever is showing up for people?
Beautiful. I would say don't should yourself. Like you're just...
Don't should yourself.
What should I do? I don't know what you should do. What should you do? Tell me what you feel and tell me what's aligned and tell me what feels exciting, but also a bit safe, but also a bit stretchy. Like, that's what you do. You can't ask anybody what you should do and get the right answer. You can ask them what they did in a similar situation and get some insight and wisdom, but that might not fit for you. What feels good for you, And so I think we really, in times like this, especially when fear gets heightened, our emotions are higher, intelligence gets lower. And then we react in fear, which is never the right place. It's not aligned. And we forget to check in with our intuition, which is much stronger, smarter, wiser, and unique to us. So it feels so like unsafe to trust it, but it's the only thing we should be listening to at a time like this.
I also find that it's a muscle that you can practice. Like I'm much more aware of when I'm coming from a place of fear. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, let's just work through that. And instead of like, oh my God, I'm afraid. And then I take action of something I shouldn't have taken. Right. So like creating that awareness and the practice of like, okay, where am I coming from right now? I'm coming from fear, or I'm coming from anxiety, or from lack or whatever.
This is great. Okay. So this is like what you just said is that awareness of the emotion. I'm scared. Okay. I'm going to do something. What should I do? It's like we want to take action as soon as we're scared because the fight or flight kicks in and our hands are weak and we're shaky and we got to do something. But it's a false reaction for what we're in right now. And if we can just breathe, just really breathe and slow the nervous system down for a second, then you can say, okay, what am I afraid of? Like you just said, what am I really afraid? What's the fear? I'm afraid I'm going to lose everything. I'm afraid I'm not going to make any more money in the next 6 months. How am I going to feed my family again? Okay, all right. Pause, slow down. Is it true that you're never going to have any more money coming in over the next 6 months? Is that ultimately true? Absolutely. Total universal truth? No? Okay. Yeah. So is it the most likely scenario even? No, not really. No, you've got a certain revenue that's coming in that's pretty predictable. Okay. Let's just say, are there chances that there's new ways to make money that you haven't even thought of that you might be open for with the right conversations that you don't even know about yet, but you could be having? Yeah, that's a potential for sure. Okay, then you look at all the potentials and you go, wow, and you're expanding the opportunity. And then you're like, oh, it's not so bad. I'm safer here. I just took a deep breath. And that lie that was telling me that I am destitute and that everything's dying around me is actually pushed to the back. And I'm seeing all these opportunities and possibilities and potentialities. And now my nervous system is calm and the prefrontal cortex is cranking away. And it's like, ooh, I could do this. Creativity, inspiration, like insight, empathy. This is all clicking now and it's open and it's ready for more. We got to calm down.
Let's talk about so many things. Let's talk about health. Let's talk about health and nutrition. You were in that space for a long time, but I want to know what works for you. What seems to... I'm not asking, I guess, what your hacks are, but tell us how you stay healthy, how you stay sharp. Tell us a little bit about your routine.
So I was one of 4 kids growing up, and all the kids were very, very fit. I was on the softer side. I was a very, very developed athlete. 3 seasons. I played every sport besides like probably rugby and American football, like that, everything else. So I was also met with a hormone imbalance that I didn't even know about until like my 20s. So I was gaining weight, very strong, gaining weight, very active, gaining weight, not eating a lot, gaining weight. Like it was infuriating. And so I had a couple of things that were autoimmune disorders that were popping and doctors really couldn't figure it out, but I was carrying 20 to 60 pounds of weight for 20 years almost. And so to get to the root of this was really, really important because it hurt. The arthritis was flaring up. Like I have, a neck pain from this accident that I could have surgery on or try to deal with, and manage in a healthy way. And so losing that weight, finding out how to do that. And it was about hormone balancing for me. And so knowing how my body intuitively eats. So I know like default setting is, where's the real food, Sandra? Where's the food that grows in the ground? Yeah, get that food, get lean meats, get healthy fats, and put them together in a way that feels satisfying to you. And ultimately, that's what I have to do every day. And I can start to feel severe dips quickly when I'm not doing it, when I'm eating things like, I love candy. I'm never going to give it up. But like when I eat too much, I can feel it immediately. And I'm like, oh, you know better. So I do it. And then I'm like, I hate myself for that. But I know better. And it's nice to have that contrast to be like, see, this is what makes you feel like crap. You love going back to the other stuff. It's not that hard. And water being such an incredibly, I just discredited water and like breathing and sleep for so long. I'm like, that's weak sauce. I got way better things to do than that. Like caffeine, I can find that in a lot of forms. I'm good. I don't need sleep. But those things are more powerful when combined. They're more powerful than any kind of like temporary ingestible you could have to try to roll over it. So I think it's, everybody's got a slightly different ratio of healthy fats, lean meats, and, produce that they should be having based on their body. But what feels good to you and what gives you energy, noticing, being aware of what drains you versus what like infuses you is really important.
So we met at a retreat couple months ago. What's on the edge for you? What are you working on? What are the limits you're pushing right now?
Yeah, so the limits are kind of, where do I want to, first of all, that retreat was just expansive to the max. And it was really life-changing in so many ways. And I'm constantly, and like we all are attempting to be on this road to evolution and ascension over a lifetime, like just better every day if we can, wherever we can. And so do I like always assessing, in a period of assessing as we come to the, to the Q4 quarter in the end of the 2020 year, like, do I like what I did this year? Do I like the way I did it? Do I like how I delivered it? Do I want to change anything? What feels more like me? I thought it was a good plan. I liked what I did. What didn't I like? Did I love it or did I like it? Like it's assessment so that I know if I can level up those experiences for me, then all my clients get the best of me. And that's the whole point. So it's like, it might've been perfect for me when I did it. And do I feel that way now though? Like I learn more every day. I relax into more every day. So I might be a very different person than 10 months ago. I definitely am. So now what? It's always like the now what? And I think those are the edges I'm pushing because it's still that fear there. Like what if I don't like it? What if I mess it up? And then I got to tell myself a better story. What's more possible? What's more true? What's like, is this fear really ultimately true? Absolutely not. So what do I want to think about instead that feels better? That's possible.
What I love about that is that I think to hear you say that is really important for people to hear because everybody is their worst self-judger.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so even somebody who's accomplishing so much and putting out such great content, adding value to the world is still like, did that make me happy? Did I provide enough value? Was that good enough? Is it good enough for me? Is it meeting my standards? Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And so to just realize that like it's a journey that everyone is trying to evolve and solve and work through and just give yourself some grace, recalibrate, and move forward, right? It's a important narrative.
It is. It's
an important narrative.
I think that people are also a bit afraid to evolve because it's like, if I evolve, does that make it mean that the stuff I did before isn't good? It isn't worth it. They didn't like it. I sold them out. I didn't show up for them like I could have. And it's like, no, if you didn't evolve, that would be the problem. That would be worse because now you're definitely coming up against a roadblock where nobody's going to want to work with you anymore because there's nothing else to learn. So you better grow, you better change, you better, have a different, I love changing my mind. Like you might've seen some of the stuff that I've done online where I'm like, hypocrite coming at you again, 643rd time this year. Let me tell you what I thought and what's not true anymore and what I believe now, because I don't really do the always and never statements anymore because I've kind of learned my lesson. Like, come on, Sandra, there's only a few scenarios where you can say I'll never or I'll always, And so I try to be careful with my language that way and admit where I thought this was the way. Here's what I know now, and so that people are less afraid of being wrong, because it's okay.
Well, we live in a culture where you're not allowed to be wrong and you're not allowed to change your mind. So that's a very powerful place to come from, that the only thing we can change is constantly change our mind.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so good.
And it's safe.
Let's talk about patience. How can we all become more patient? Is there a need to be more patient? I don't catch you as somebody who's very patient.
No, good read. So
Yes.
So patience is something I find so attractive in other humans. I'm always very, very envious in a healthy way, I guess. Is always like, what a beautiful model for me to look at. Like, how do they do that? And I like to ask people who seem to be naturally very patient, like, how do you think about that? You're in this situation that I'm in, but you're handling it very differently. I can see it on your face. So tell me what you're doing up here so I can grab some of that. Now, with patience, for me, what I found is that that it's really helped me a lot to grow my context. So I can become impatient with how people are responding, how things are going in a launch, or how people are moving through a program, or what actions my clients are taking versus not taking. And I can get impatient with my own ability to understand something or get to a certain place I thought I should have been at. What's your context, Sandra? Like, is this the make or break launch? Is this thing that you assigned for work for the client going to break both of you, either of you, if they don't do it by a certain time? No? What's the real context here? That you're going to be supporting ascension and growth over a lifetime of your career? Is it going to be true that you are going to do this no matter what? Not when it stops being convenient, but no matter what. Are you there for them regardless of their behavior, or are you a conditional lover? Like, where are you really showing up versus where you say you're showing up? And what's the context? Is it got to be this way and attached to time and a certain outcome in a certain way this month, or I'm done? Or can you chill out? And if you've got 20 years, can you settle down and imagine that maybe the one dot on the radar won't even be able to be seen in 20 years over that timeline? Like, settle down. Like, what
so good.
To grow your context.
Well, what you just said so quickly but so beautifully is also like patience has nothing to do with time. Often it has nothing to do with your relationship with time, but it has more to do with the meaning of the action, or the lack of the result, or the what it means to you, or lack of respect, or lack of value or validation or something like that, less than, oh, I want something to happen fast. It's not about time. Fascinating. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, because it's like, could you even imagine getting everything you ever wanted in one day? Boring. Now what? Like, what? I don't even know what I want now. Like, wait, is that it? That's all? You've maxed out that feeling. If you got say you had 5 of your most amazing ideas and dreams, 5 goals, achievements, like that you would just love to have in life, and you got one of them, that feeling, the best thing that you could ever think of, and you got one of those things, you got no more room to max out to energetically. That's the biggest. So if you got all of them at the same time, that's still the biggest you're able to feel as a human. So it wouldn't be an exponential feeling of achievement or excitement. It'd still be maxed out. Don't we want to drip it out and have a life that's full of surprises and excitement and adventure and more and more and more? Like, what are we doing? Like, can you feel the excitement in a movie if everybody achieves everything in the first 10 minutes? Now what? Like, keep me hanging on, please. You know what I mean? Like, give me something to fight for. Feels better.
What are you working on yourself right now that you need to improve? What are the skill sets, or what are the limiting beliefs? Or
I think for me, it's always an ever ongoing journey of, as I deepen my practice in meditation, there was this back and forth tug of war for the last maybe 5 years up until last year of hearing people that have the biggest microphones in the space to say, 5 a.m. club or nothing, or we're gonna, if you don't do meditation, you'll never do this, or screw meditation, you don't need it. Here's what you really need. And it's like, all these opposing ideas and advice. And so I didn't really know what to believe about that. And as I come into meditation, I'm like, so the people who don't love it, they probably aren't doing it right. Maybe they've got something going on where they can't they can't give themselves the grace and patience to settle down a little bit more than this and feel the benefits. But for me, I've seen such massive jumps in expansion, mental expansion, where I can calm down, where I can see things more clearly, where I can grab more peace. And that is so much more valuable to me. I get downloads and ideas that are just so much more advanced than I would have done if I hadn't been meditating. And it seemed counterproductive to me for so long to be wasting time trying to calm my mind versus doing the things in this masculine energy approach. And we're trained to do it. So it's, I'm neurodivergent. ADHD brains activate in a certain way, making a lot of things very challenging to slow down and stay still and focus. And so with this, I found the more I grow my intention in meditation and learning about how I operate, generally speaking, as a person, where my triggers are, where I'm activated versus triggered, and how I respond, what I do with that. Like, it's peeling back those layers that are really important to me now versus what's my next achievement? I don't care as much about that as I do about becoming the person that I aspired to be. And that is exclusively inner work, exclusively. So so it's that for me these days. It's
so good. What are you afraid of?
So much. So I'm afraid of a lot. I think I don't give it a lot of attention. I don't run from the fear, but I don't feed it. So I feel like fear just walks alongside us in all the different forms that it will. Fear that you'll lose people, fear that you won't make enough, fear that you'll lose status, fear that you'll lose mental capacity, fear that you'll lose relevance, fear that you won't know what to do next, fear that you'll lose your health. There's so many things to be afraid of. And so we walk with fear, and I feel like it, like this tamed wild animal on a leash next to you. And it's like, I'll walk with you. I'm shackled to you. I guess we're doing this, and you're not going anywhere, I guess, but I don't have to look at you. I already know you're there. So I don't need to feed you. You graze on the side of the road while we're walking or whatever, but I don't need to be the one. So you can be here. I can't get rid of you. I will look over here instead. And it's an awareness of the fear. And then when the fear bites me, it's like, okay, settled. What did I do? What did I do to get bit by the fear? And then I look at that and go, what do I have to fix there? And it's that, taming the fear as I go and not giving it attention, but responding and reacting because it's telling me something. It's an indicator for me to grow and to get better or to clean house in that one way. And so I think it's that. There's a lot to be afraid of, but courage doesn't show up without fear being present. So
yes, so good. I want to, because I mentioned it before and I don't want to leave the audience without it. I want to go back to the the second book, Grit and Grace. And I love what you've done with it. Put together 12 stories of women who found strength and hope during times of darkness and despair. Talk a little bit about what you learned in that journey of putting those stories together.
I was blessed and honored to learn that these beautiful, capable, professional, achieved women went through mania and tragedy. And why are you still smiling, ma'am? You just had an awful story that I got to tell. What? How are you? So the inspiration of learning that these stories are all different and varied in these different ways. And they're so heavy. And then they're so full of light. There's so much grace that was given to get them through it and to change, to flip it on its head. That was a tragic story. Let's flip it. Let's actually pull gold out of that. And let's not let it just be a tragedy. Let's let it be the fertilizer that smells horrible that grows this beautiful tree, And so giving that book to the world in a way that women can, you have 12 quick stories that you can read that full book cover to cover in 2 hours, and you can ingest however, a dozen stories in 2 hours. You're going to find yourself in one of those stories, and you're going to be like, if she can do that, I got it. I got this, and that was the intention, to say, here's some perspective, loving perspective, and a choice. If 12 women can see these tragedies in a different way and not call it tragic, can you do this? Can you do one little thing that feels a little better today? And if we could do that, we could change the way that person behaves in their family that day, or the way that they heal, or the way that they make decisions, and the way that they give themselves grace and patience. And that changes everything. So for the people who do, So it was enlightening, and it was humbling, and it was very, very inspiring, and like an honor to be seated among women. Like organizing that book with my co-author Sharon Cohen was an honor that I was, that they were choosing me to lead them on this adventure. It was wonderful. I love them all.
I love it. I'll tell you a little fun anecdote. I have 2 young daughters, and they're only 3 and 5, and so I love talking about this topic of women. I won't say women empowerment. I think that's probably cliche, but like women leadership and strength and finding your power and standing in your own light and all those things. And I think I learned those skills, I'll call them, later in life too. And so now I put Katy Perry and all of it online, and the girls are dancing and singing, and they're roaring, and they're standing in their power, and it's so amazing.
Love it.
The reason I share that is that it's so amazing how we as humans can learn that and not learn that at a super early age.
Oh,
and so,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't learn that early on. We're not programmed for those types of that languaging, the words, the even the embodiment of it, the physical embodiment of it. We don't learn those things until much, much later in life. And then you find that you need them, like you learned in your journey of going after 10 years of stress and mismanaging time and energy and all those things. And then you learn like, wow, I'm going to fall into those behaviors and those programs. But like at 3 years old, they embody it instantly. It's like innate. Yeah,
because they are born wild, and they're born with this vigor and creativity for life, and they're so open and magical, and then and so trusting, and they're full of faith. They're just like, what an inspiration. To look at a kid, you know how it is, to look at your kids and go, God, you're so much better than me, and then you think back to you at 4, 5, 6 years old. When did people start poking holes in your power? Like, don't wear that. You don't want to wear that to school. People are going to make fun of you. Don't put your hair like that. What did you say? Sit down in the corner. Don't do that. Don't. And you're like, oh, like, and now you're like, wait, I don't trust myself. Wait, I better listen to them. So you give away your power in those moments, slowly over time. And it's with the right environment and parents like you to condition the kids back into, you were born perfect, worthy, nothing's ever changed. Go get wild, be wild. Show me what it looks like to be wild. I will keep the bumpers on here for you so that you don't get hurt, but like, be wild, and we need it. We need that. Yeah.
And it's not a normal place. It's not, a lot of people are not wild that way. And so even for me, I find insecurity. I'm like, oh, are they being too wild? But it's pureness. It's wholeness, right? So as we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question. Well, actually maybe 2 before I ask my final question is, for you, what is success as you coach your clients? Like, I'm sure people come to you and say, this, Sandra, help me get what I want. Like, this is what I want, but for you, is success getting them what they want, or what is success for you when you're serving people?
That's a really good one. Okay. So it's, for me, the framework, I'm very, very clear communicating with clients up front before we start working together, is that I can't guarantee you anything because it's not up to me, but I will come in and walk alongside you, and you can calibrate to my energy, to my courage, to my experience. I will offer you everything that I have. And if you trust and believe that that's worthy of your time and your investment of money and time and energy, then I'll walk with you and I'll give you everything I've got. And your responsibility, client, is to trust that that's enough for you, to trust that having somebody see you and walk with you and be there to hold the pain, the excitement, the courage, the fear, the unknown with you is the thing that'll keep you going and reduce some of that fear and help you walk into that faith and that, trusting the unknown. And so I find that success for me in a client relationship feels like they learned how to trust themselves better. They believed in themselves more because I was walking with them, and look what they did with that.
I don't think I've ever heard a better definition of leadership than that.
Thank you.
That's what's pure leadership, right? That's leadership right there. Yeah. So I don't have the answer. I'm not going to give you the answer, but I'll stand right beside you and set the example and share. I love that. Just model the energy. Well, Final question. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think that think that people try to ask the wrong questions so much though. Like, what should I do? I don't know what you should do. Like, what do I need to do next? What do you need to do? I don't know what you need to do. Like, so if they're asking those questions, they're not ready for that kind of mentorship. Right. So it's like, I'm working with women at that one-on-one capacity that are able to trust themselves and know that they need to be held in it. So it's a different kind of, coaching. So, but yeah.
For you, what does it mean to live a rich life?
I was just talking about this in one of my programs this morning, and those infinity mirrors, like right in the dressing rooms, one's on the other side of the wall, just opposing. So it just goes on for forever. And it's like that for your goals and achievements and desires. It's like you reach the next mirror and you're like, got it, what's next? Got it, what's next? Got it, what's next? And that's the game that you're playing, no matter what. Whether you like it or not, that's the game you're playing. You get the achievement and your brain quickly after is going to go, okay, what next? And you're going to have to decide what do you want next and come up with a new desire and dream. And they're going to go after it. So that is the game you're playing, no matter what. Whoever you are, no matter what, that's your game. Are you going to be stressed out and full of adrenaline the whole time and rushing to the next mirror and the next mirror and the next mirror and the next mirror and looking back to see if anybody's behind you or who's ahead of you the whole time? And then at your deathbed being like, what did I accumulate? You're never going to ask what you accumulated. You're going to remember whether it sucked or not. And so you're playing the same game. You're still grabbing for the next mirror, but can you do it with a smile? Can you do it and enjoy the ride? Can you do it and stop before the next mirror and celebrate the heck out of what you just did? Can you love that? Because your context is going to be bigger with that too. And it's going to be like every little achievement is going to feel so big because you celebrate, because you love it, because you're grateful, because it feels good. And then at the end of your life, opposing, you're sitting on your deathbed going, that was fun. I'm so happy. Not like, hey guys, do you want to see what I got? Like, do you want to see my cars? Like, nobody cares about that at the end, right? It's like, I had so much fun. I love so big. I love so hard. I'm so proud of what I did. Look what I did. That's it.
Love it. All good stuff, man. Thank you. I love you so much. I honor you for your journey. I honor you for everything that you're sharing and giving and doing for others. We all see you, and I really, really appreciate you doing this with me. And keep doing it.
I'm so glad we got to do this.
Keep doing it, girl.
Yeah, I love you too. This has been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.